program. So so just a short background of the area. So the area of Philippines and Indonesia, parts of Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands is what is called the Coral Triangle, because number of coral reef species in the world. So it has the highest marine biodiversity in the world, and there are many theories why that is. And these are some of the theories. One is an area of overlap. So we have domains of the Pacific and Indian Ocean overlapping over this area. The second is area of accumulation. During the Pleistocene, the period when the sea level was about 120 meters below present levels. A lot of the islands in the Philippines and Indonesia did not have very wide shelves, so continental shelves. So they were isolated islands, and so they were still in part of the sea, and so developed a lot more species. Also, because in the Pacific, there are many isolated islands in the Central Pacific, and this could have contributed to organisms transported to the west because of the prevailing currents and wind. So there are many theories, but this area has very high marine biodiversity. The Philippines itself is an archipelago, about more than 7,000 islands. It's found in between the Pacific and also the largest marginal sea in the Western Pacific, the South China Sea. But internally, we also have the Sulu Sea, and in between the Philippines and Indonesia is the Sulawesi Sea. So if we zoom in to the Philippines, this underwater plateau at the east of the Philippines is called the Benham Rise or the Philippine Rise. And at the southern part of this underwater plateau is a seamount where the top of the sorry, helicopter just flew over, so very noisy. So anyway, the southern part of the Benham Rise is called the Benham Bank. It's a seamount with where the top of the seamount is about 50-60 meters underwater, and the top of the seamount is this is a picture of the surface at the bottom of the surface of the Benham Seamount, and you can see it's covered by a lot of corals, and this is perhaps a very unique ecosystem for us. It's our only deep mesophotic reef system, and it's very pristine, mainly because it is too deep for fishermen to access. So, and this is a good opportunity to look at here and how they have adapted to this kind of environment. So along the eastern coast of the Philippines, we also have the origin of the Kuroshio and the Mindanao Current. Between 10 to like 18 degrees north, we have the westward flowing North Equatorial Current. And this branches to the north and also to the south. The north branch is the formation of the Kuroshio. To the south, you have the Mindanao Current. And underneath these surface currents, we also have the undercurrents, the Luzon undercurrent, the Mindanao undercurrent, and the North Equatorial undercurrent. East of Mindanao, we have the persistent Mindanao eddy, and east of the Luzon Strait, where you have the eastward flowing subtropical countercurrent. This current helps in generating a lot of the eddy activity also in this area. So the NEC supplies mass and heat to both the Kuroshio and the Mindanao current. But what influences the variability of the transport of the Kuroshio and the Mindanao current is where the NEC bifurcates. So when the NEC bifurcates to the north, most of the current flows towards the Mindanao current, and when it bifurcates to the south, most of the flow is towards the north. So there's a partitioning of both the mass and heat transport. So it's a key in the NEC Kuroshio Mindanao current system, because it determines the meridional transport of mass and heat. So it's very important for regional climate and also for productivity. So it's particularly interesting for us because the characteristics of the waters east of Luzon are influenced by how the NEC, or where the NEC bifurcates. So when the NEC bifurcates to the north, we get more productive Kuroshio recirculation waters, or when the NEC bifurcates to the south, you have less productive oligotrophic NEC waters occupying the waters east of Luzon. So, of course, the NEC bifurcation latitude varies at multi-scales. It varies seasonally. The bifurcation latitude is at its northernmost point during November and December, and its southernmost point during May and July. It also varies interannually. Here in this plot here is the plot of the bifurcation latitude shown in the solid black line and the Nino 3.4 index. And when you can see that when you have El Nino, the bifurcation latitude is to the north, and when you have La Nina, the bifurcation latitude is to the south. Aside from that, there's also long-term variations of the NEC bifurcation latitude. This is the bifurcation latitude from 1950 to the 20 a few years after 2010, and you can see that in the 1950s, the bifurcation latitude was further north, and it has been slowly decreasing, to, moving towards the south in recent years. So this Philippine Rice Integrated Marine Environment Research is the main objectives of this program is to understand the biophysical mechanisms affecting the natural and potential fisheries productivity in the Eastern Philippines. It also aims to look at the diversity of adaptation mechanisms of the organisms found in the Benham Bank. And a third component of this program is also to capacitate academic institutions along the Pacific coast of the Philippines, and also local government units for marine research. And also there's also a science communication component to try to translate scientific findings into information products that can be readily used by communities and government for policy. So in the, the first objectives, we want to examine the productivity associated with low latitude western boundary currents. And unlike eastern boundary currents, where productivity is controlled mainly by coastal upwelling, in the west, it's more eddies and geostrophic driven upwelling. Um, so we want to look at eddy activity east of Luzon, and also looking at the effects of Kuroshio variability on the productivity along the eastern Luzon coast. And last is we also want to look at the interaction between currents and topography in the Benham Bank. So this figure shows us the chlorophyll maps or chlorophyll distributions in May and April 2012, and you can see that the nascent Kuroshio from after bifurcating from the NEC goes through here and along the eastern coast of Luzon and then on to northward towards Taiwan. So between the on the shoreward side of the Kuroshio, you see a very sharp gradient of chlorophyll. And the Kuroshio sometimes when it flows from the NEC to the north and it reaches this part here, it also bifurcates, creating this eddy. And this eddy appears to be consistent. It's always present every time we visit there. But we see this high activity even as you move towards the Luzon Strait. You can see these sharp boundaries in chlorophyll, and we have more productive waters on the western side of Kuroshio. So, so one of the things we're interested in is when the strength of the Kuroshio changes, what is its effect on the productivity of these waters here. So this is ADCP data interpolated, but you can see the presence of that eddy here, and the color is actually scaled to the chlorophyll concentration, the log of the chlorophyll concentration. You can see higher chlorophyll concentration along the cyclonic eddy here. In the STCC region, we also have a lot of eddy activity, and some of them actually moves. Some of them are actually found to the south, where we have towards the eastern coast of Luzon, and it's interesting to see. We've seen presentations in the earlier part of the series where our eddies were influencing the magnitude of the Kuroshio north of Taiwan, and some Taiwanese papers also showed eddies influencing the magnitude of Kuroshio east of Taiwan. So this is another interesting feature is how eddies propagate, or how it behaves as it interacts with the Kuroshio in the Luzon Strait. This is a paper by Xu. It shows that sometimes the eddies can pass through can cross the Kuroshio and into the South China Sea. Sometimes the eddies are blocked by the Kuroshio and is advected northward. So the westward passage usually occurs when the Kuroshio is weak and loops into the South China Sea. While when the Kuroshio is strong, it tends to block eddies from crossing the Kuroshio. So um, this is a map of available HF Doppler radars in the Philippines. There are these are the radars established by our weather service. Some of them are not yet fully operational, but they're focused mainly on navigational straits. There is one in the north in this group of islands here, but we also installed two radars along the northern coast to try to capture surface currents in the southern half of the Luzon Strait. So we were planning to install also radars in this group of islands here, so that we can also cover the northern half of the Luzon Strait and hopefully get a full coverage of surface circulation in the Luzon Strait. We also plan to install additional radars along the eastern coast of this island here so that we can um, um, also get some coverage over the bifurcation area. So that's our plan, but these are existing. We finished installing this last December and had it operating for about 2 months. And then when the COVID hit, we're not unable to visit the site. So we hope that we can visit it soon because we need to do some repairs on this radar here. One of the things you also want to see is the Benham Bank. I showed you a map of the Benham Bank. And this is in one of our cruises, we found a wake produced by the bank, and there's a westward current which flows through over it. So all right. A lot of helicopters passing overhead. Sorry. Um, so we also want to see how eddies passing through these areas affect um, uh, how it interacts with the bank and how it affects the waters in the bank. So the other major component of that program is looking at shallow reefs along the Philippine coast and also deeper mesophotic reefs. Benham Bank is one of the mesophotic reefs, but along the coast, we don't know if there are deeper reefs also found there. So a lot of it is largely uh, not very well studied. So we need to look at diversity of species. What are the microbial communities associated with these species, and if there are natural products that we can uh, find from, we can get um, um, organisms. We also want to see the connections between the shallow and the deep mesophotic reefs. And so, because the deep mesophotic reefs can sort of serve as a refuge for exploited species. And if there is a strong connection between them, then when you exploit the shallow reefs, it can be replenished by the mesophotic populations. So how do we study adaptation mechanisms of organisms in the Benham Bank? So we can do it using genetic and non-genetic means. Um, we can collect samples and analyze uh, uh, their genetics and see if there's a difference between species that are found. There are genetic differences between the same species found in shallow versus the same species found in the deep reefs. We can also look at acclimation, where the or the ability of an organism to adjust its physiology in response to environmental conditions without having genetic changes. So this will involve collection of species common in both shallow and deep reefs, and characterizing also the diversity of their symbionts. For instance, the photosynthetic zooxanthellae that are found in corals. These are some studies before that show that um, along the Pacific coast of the Philippines, you can basically uh, uh, split the area into two biogeographic regions, one in the north and another one in the south. So it matches very well with where the NAC bifurcates to where this is the Kuroshio part and this is the Mindanao Current part. So this one are the units delineated using genetic breaks from several species. So for the same species um, found along the east coast of Luzon, there are genetic differences between the northern populations versus the southern populations. The same can also be found using uh, uh, coral and fish biodiversity data. So population characteristics, there's a significant difference between populations in the north and in the south. So clearly, this is affected by um, uh, the NEC bifurcation, and we want to understand more the effects of current systems into the coastal ecosystems. The final component is capacity building and science communication. So we involve other academic institutions along the Pacific coast and involve them in the research programs, and also we have exchange in academic staff. There's also a science communication program where we translate the outputs from the program to inform, educate, and also increase awareness of the importance of um, uh, current systems in the Pacific. And this may also be used to as input to policy. So that's the whole program, and we hope that we can uh, start activities under this program. Our schedule is starting late 2021, and that should cover about 3 years of activities. So I will end here, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Cesar. So if you want to ask or comment, please raise your hand first. Any comment or questions to Cesar? So I have one question about the the operation survey capacity. So you are now operating the research vessel, right? In a
Yeah,
region.
we have a relatively large research vessel but it is operated by the Navy.
Mm.
We have one small research vessel, but uh, the university is procuring um, uh, medium-sized research vessels this year. And
Yeah.
we also have a wave glider that we've used, and we can also use that to do some observations in the Pacific.
Okay. So, and my question is if you have used these facilities for the Benham Rise surveys.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we have used them.
Okay.
Glider we have not used on the Pacific side, but we have used them in the Sulu Sea.
Sulu Sea. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
No, have not used for the Benham Rise and also.
Not yet.
Not
We
yet.
were supposed to. It was scheduled to. Sorry. It was scheduled to be used in April and May this year, but we had to, because of the lockdown, we had to postpone all our activities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Wei-Si?
Yeah, thank you, Ken. Thank you very much, Cesar, for a very, we're waiting for this wonderful discovery, maybe in 3 years. Just a very small question about how are you going to do the survey about the metamorphic reef? I think for biological part, how to do the survey at that kind of level.
Yeah, in the previous years, because it's fairly deep, so it's very hard to access by diving. We had to use our Navy and Coast Guard's technical divers. So they used rebreathers and mixed gases, but they can only stay for a few minutes each time. So we're going to use ROVs to do some of the collections. For studying fish populations, we use what is called as BRUVs, baited remote underwater video. You just drop them at the bottom, and then it's baited, so it attracts the fish, and you can video the fish in stereo, and we have software that can identify and count and measure the fish that's seen in the videos. So so that's the difficulty with the mesophotic reefs. You cannot spend a lot of time as diving at those depths. So we make use of other technologies.
Right. I think the ROV is necessary. I think currently the UPMSI is equipped with the ROV, or you have to learn from others now.
We have
borrow from others, right?
We have small ones, but we're planning to purchase an ROV that can go a couple of 100 meters deep.
Okay. Good. Thank you very much, Cesar.
Thank you, Wensi.
Hi, Ken. Could I have the question?
Jihak first.
Yeah.
Jihak, please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Cesar. I have two questions. First one is that, is there any long-term trend in biological productivities in Benham Bank area?
I'm sorry?
Second question is that, so I want to know some details for observation plan in the Benham Bank area.
Oh, sorry. I did not quite get the first question. What was that?
First question is that, is there any long-term trend in the biological productivity in the Benham Rise area?
Yeah, where the plan that we have now is maybe short, medium term at the moment, but we plan to develop an observation system long term for the Benham Bank area too. I think it's been designated as a protected area, and it's a very unique ecosystem for the Philippines, especially. So I think there's a strong push to preserve and monitor that area. For the observation plan for the other components, we're still working on it. So it would help if our activities are also harmonized with activities from other partners as well, international collaborators. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Songkyat, please.
Yeah, Cesar, I have the two questions to you. The first, from your presentation, I see you emphasize a lot of those physical processes. But in your study, are you going to get involved with those geochemicals processes? Because of, I guess that in your area, the coral might get more influence from the deep water. That is from the chemical, from the nutrients. That is the first question. The second, in the area, you know, as you know, we talk a lot about those problem of the climate change to coral bleaching. But I guess that in your area, maybe they have the minimum of the coral bleaching because you may get some you know, from the cyclonic acid to bring the deep water, the cold water onto the into the area.
So
that's the two questions I would like to ask you. Thank you.
Yeah, so for the first question, yes, we have within the program, we have a large team, and we also have chemists and geochemists on the team. So they have their own components. They look at the chemistry of the water column as well. So that will be helpful. We also have biotech to look at the genetics of organisms. So, and also geologists looking at sediments and along the morphology of coral reefs along the Pacific coast. So it's a multidisciplinary team. The other question, the Philippines actually is also affected by coral bleaching, but most of the sorry, I don't know what's happening, but there are a lot of helicopters around. So, most of the coral bleaching occurs along the western side of the Philippines, not on the Pacific side, and usually occurs during El Nino, and the temperature on the western side, the South China Sea side, is actually correlated more with the Eastern Pacific temperatures rather than the Western Pacific temperatures. So when it's El Nino, the Pacific side cools down, but the Western side warms up. So that's where we find most of our coral bleaching. Some of the areas heavily influenced by bleaching have undergone some changes in the population structure. We now find more of the temperature tolerant species dominating over areas. So yes, we're still affected by climate change effects, and the long-term changes in the North Equatorial Current bifurcation latitude is also clear that, and it affects every time when the bifurcation latitude changes, the properties of the waters in Eastern Luzon also changes. So like there's a slight southward shift in the bifurcation latitude, and it's introducing more and more warm water in the Eastern Luzon and more oligotrophic, so lower chlorophyll waters. So yes, climate change effects can be readily be observed in seas around the Philippines.
Yeah, thank you very much, Cesar.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comment or question? So I have small questions to you again. Sorry. So you mentioned that the equatorial north equatorial current impact to the regional climate. So I understand right now the north equatorial current also impact to the coral bleaching, coral ecosystem. But how about the regional climate? So what kind of you know processes are more important to the regional climate in Philippines?
Well, it might change precipitation patterns. More warm water on the eastern Luzon side may also influence the strength of passing typhoons.
Typhoon, okay.
So, or it may also change the path of those typhoons. And of course, large-scale wind changes because we're dominated by the Asian monsoon. So, Asian monsoon system may show also some changes in the degree of variability. So those things maybe.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So comment or question? How about Lilin? Lilin, are you here? Okay, so maybe the time has come. So thank you very much, Cesar.
Thank you. Thank you.
So next speaker is Bingbing. Thank you. Please start.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very glad to see some of my old friends here online. So, my name is Pengmin Wang. I'm from the Second Institute of the Oceanography, the Ministry of the Nature Resource, China. Today, I will give a talk on the impact of the Kuroshio on the harmful algae blooms in the North East Asia. As we know, just now, Cesar also said the climate change is also serious and affects our WESTPAC regions. This figure is from the NOAA last year, and we know last year is very serious ENSO years, and I know in Chinese in China there are many rainy last year, and they are very big. Because of rainy, there are many disasters last year also in China. We know that the climate change makes some more frequent wildfires, like last year's Australia, and maybe a long period drought, and some regions, and increasing number of duration and intensity of tropical storms. Also, we know last year in our region also had many cyclones. Another point is also global warming. This is, we know, especially for the seawater. The seawater temperature at some place is continuing warming. Just now, Cesar also said in Philippines, the coral bleaching is serious, and we know some the warming and climate change
Penbin, we cannot hear your voice. Penbin. Oh. Hi everyone. I think Penbin, we lost the connection to Penbin, so I think he's reconnecting. So could you please wait 1 minute or so?
Yeah, I sent message to him.
So Wensi, did you send? Wensi, did you send?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did already. He's trying to log on again.
Okay.
He's trying to log on again.
Okay. Okay, maybe we will wait 1 or 2 minutes, and then if the connection will not recover, we will ask to Shijan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Shijan, not yet. Please wait. Oh, Penbin came back.
Yeah, and thanks.
Yeah, I'm very sorry. I don't know when the now it's okay.
Yeah, now it's okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Please share your screen.
Yeah, and how many slide was lost?
Yeah, this one. Here.
Here's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because just now my internet is shut down for maybe 1 minute. I don't know what's the problem. Sometimes I'm not sure. I heard Zoom is sometimes not working these days in Chinese mainland. I'm not sure if there is some problem of this. Yeah, I'm very sorry for this. I will continue my talk. It's okay?
Okay,
yes,
okay.
Please.
And maybe it's better to switch off your video.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that the internet traffic will be much easier.
Okay. I will not close because because of the coral bleaching is not only a coral bleaching its main factors. Sometimes it's okay.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. You close my video. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So sometimes because of some benthic dinoflagellates, when the bleaching, actually the symbiosis of the coral, the symbiote didn't leave the coral, and the others like some benthic dinoflagellates will take the nick of the coral, the symbiote. So for this kind of the species living and extend and living in the coral will die for forever sometimes. this is one point. This is why some areas coral is not carving. So this kind of the flagellate is also we call it benthic harmful alga. Yeah, this is not only cause some problem of the coral. Sometimes many of this benthic dinoflagellates, they also can produce dinotoxin, like some seagull taro fish poison. This is very toxic toxin. Yeah, like this kind of CFP, when many this kind of benthic dinoflagellates growing, they can accumulate from the fish and from small fish to the big fish, and we finally it's come to our table for eating. So some will get very serious health problem. So this is another problem of this kind of the harmful species. Just now, this one is benthic, and we know the harmful alga bloom before is oftenly as the pelagic species like this. This picture is taken at the last year at 2019 at May 26 in the Pingtan, Fujian. At that time, there have many serious problems for the fish killing to make many economic loss. And this is watercolor I take by my cell phone. I take some waters and to make sure what kind of the problem makes the fish dying. Here are some SEM figures from that's waters. Yeah, like some Procentum and here Calodidium, which may be a toxic species in the waters, and others species. I will not talk in details, but we find there are many harmful alga species in the waters, and harmful alga blooms not always make bad effect, but also it makes very good scenery. We know that it's called blue tears. This figure is not me take, my friend take at the Ningbo, Zhejiang at this May. This is because of this Nuchiluca have many growing, and in the water at night it can have a very beautiful color. This picture is taken at the daytime. Yeah. Actually, this species is often blooming in Chinese coast. Even these 2 days, our vessel is at East China Sea, and this is also from the remote sensing data. We find there have many there are many big areas Nutiluca blooming at this place. Actually, harmful alga blooms in China is have very big problem. We can see these figures. This is from this year's April 15 to May 24th. We can see that at the coast of East China Sea, they have the harmful alga bloom time to time. If you see it's more how can I say? If we see the time series, we can find some trend. The harmful algal bloom is from south to the north. It seems like some moving. Yeah. And in every year at the East China Sea, sometimes they have many big disaster actually to cause the fish killing. So the fishing killing events means economic loss. So sometimes and some years, if there is big harmful algal blooms at the China Sea, they will have many million tons of the fish will be killed. So we can from this slide we can know that from the 1933 to 2010, the harmful algal bloom becomes serious to see from serious and serious, and after 2010s to 2017s, it's really seems like a little better, but it's still serious. And at the East China Sea, this coast, they have very serious, the harmful blooms region. So it's affect economy, especially on the fishing economy. So we also know that as this topic, our this talk, we know that at the WESTPAC region, especially at our Kuroshio region, we can find the current is very complex from winter, spring, summer, and autumn. Sometimes and somewhere is absolutely different, the current. So we are thinking that for the climate change and the global warming and our the complex current at this region, it will make many affect harmful algal bloom, the moving. I mean, from low latitude maybe go to the higher latitude. Yeah, this have this chance, just like I showed in the last several slides at the Chinese coast. We also know that because these studies, so far I collaborate with my South Korean colleagues. Here are some species of main harmful algal bloom species in Chinese coast, and at this place, my South Korean colleague gave me the South Korean harmful algal bloom species. We can find some of them are similar, but sometimes they are not the same, maybe for the geographic regions. So we can have from the before, we can that's kind of many of these things, we can know that the invasive marine tropic harmful algal bloom species in the ecosystem of Northeast could be drawn by the climate change, ocean warming, and currents. We should actually focus on the potential invasive pelagic and benthic tropic harmful algal bloom species from tropic region to higher latitude. So from last several years, I get, according to my NSFC program, I studied some of the harmful algal bloom species at the Chinese coast. I go to the sampling from north to the south, and even Sansha Island. And from this year, my colleagues, my Korean colleagues, and I start a new project named Fundamental Study on the Establishment of a Korean and China Monitoring System of the Invasive Harmful Algal Bloom Species in the Northeast Regional Sea. Actually, this is why I talked gave this talk at our session. Yeah, actually, this work also joined from my colleagues in Philippines. So we want to see if there is some the far away trends of the harmful algal bloom species from south to the north. Yeah, we want to find something because before we didn't have this kind of the studies. So we want to prevent HAB disaster together. Yeah, this is very important. So from my study, we are not only to collect the water sample but also we also do some benthic sample collections. So this is water sample collections, and we use them to find some benthic collection method. Maybe using tours, sampling tours, or also use some or scuba diving to get some samples. Yeah, we know we should know that the water sample is very easy for transport from by water, but the benthic sample is not that easy. So this is why we also including the benthic harmful algal blooms species to be studied. So we also do some isolations like this to establish the culture to make sure every species can be studied well. Yeah, if we can get the culture, we can know many of the species, and then we can see from the microscope and also SEM. And later, we can also use barcoding for molecular method to see their phylogenetic positions. And even we also detecting use the field samples. We counting the phytoplankton abundance, also compositions, just like got results like at here, to make sure every site we can know the species what they are. So far, we have got many results like from Chinese coast. Like this is I'm very concerned from the group of the dinoflagellates, one part of the harmful algal bloom species. Yeah. Yeah, I will not give many details of the taxonomy result of these. Just give some showing of the pictures. Yeah. Here are some beautiful SEM figures. And also, we collect enough cultures. So far, in my lab, we have more than 300 cultures. So for these kind of studies, yeah, we can see many where the species phylogenetic positions. Yeah, even we find some new species, potential new species is under the paper preparing. And as we know, maybe you also, some of you also know that if we do this based on the microscope, we need many labors, or we need many peoples, especially for the well-trained the researchers, but it's not easy for us to study many places and a large area. So I'm trying to use a new method like NGS for potential harmful algal species detecting. Just like this, I'm concerned some group like this, we can, from results in NGS, we can got one sample at 1092 sequence. And for samples, for some samples, we can got 227 sequence for one samples, and even sometimes only one sequence also can be detected in this kind of samples, field samples. So I think we can promote this kind of things. I will also try to use this technology for my further studies. So from further studies from now on, I think we should explore the large area for this kind of harmful algal bloom species study. I think we need to know the more sampling sites, and we need to get more data. And especially very important, I think we need to do more collaborations with different countries to see if there is some problems from the currents, global warming, and this kind of the effects. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Benbing. So if you have questions, please raise your hand in the windows or participants. And also, if you cannot speak, please write your questions in the chat windows. So, any, okay, Wensi?
Thank you very much, Ken. Pengbin, thank you. Congratulations. A lot of very extensive work has been done. And also the new technology you are going to employ. My question is, because you are studying about the transportation mechanism of some harmful algal species from the source to the north, right?
Yes, right.
By current. But why you don't consider the impact of ballast water, transporting the species from the north to the south?
Yeah. Your question is very good. Actually, I missed that part. Actually, ballast water is also very important part is for the to transport the harmful algal species from south part to the north. Yeah. I missed that part.
This is something I think we should look at the issue from two sides. Not only the transporting from the north, from the south to the north, but also the big possibility, transporting from the north to the source.
Yeah.
So this is something, yes, I think we need to take into account. Second, can you explain about I couldn't get your point, the linkage between coral bleaching and the benthic dinoflagellate related issues?
About that part, because that we know the coral bleaching may be affected by the water temperature, maybe, and other factors. After that, after coral bleaching, because why there is, I want to say is one thing. After why makes coral bleaching? The coral bleaching is the symbiotic, the symbiotic system of the Zooxanthia, one kind of dinoflagellates called the symbiotidium. They leave the coral, so coral lost their color, and this is why coral bleaching. And then after this bleaching, if there are some more like some other benthic dinoflagellates, like some maybe Gambia disc and others, if they go to the place, or I can see the home of the symbiotidium, the symbiotidium couldn't compete with other benthic dinoflagellates, so the symbiotidium couldn't go to their home. They were lost home forever. So at this time, the coral will dead forever. I don't know if this is okay to make sense.
Yes, I understand. There any this kind of case discovered?
Yes. Because we want to know that, because I'm not studying the coral, but we find some dead coral. We find many other benthic dinoflagellates on the coral bone. So we thinking maybe because some other benthic dinoflagellates will be more easy to alive in some hot waters sometimes. Yeah, and they leave in the coral. The symbiotidium will could not back. Yeah, we just find some dead coral. Okay. We find many other benthic dinoflagellates. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Any other comment or question?
Ken, could I have the question? Yeah, Pengbin, thank you very much for your comprehensive presentation. At the last part of your presentation, you are present about molecular for the taxonomy, or even those talking about environmental DNA. I think this field is a lot of now biologists or ecologists that are interested to work on, but particularly for the phytoplankton or even including harmful algae bloom that you mentioned. What do you think that this is possible, for the Westpac region to have some kind, the activists, that kind maybe project program or cooperation to build up some kind of, the database for the the phytoplankton or even harmful algae species. I think it will be benefit, we could be able to share those kind of barcoding information, and then in the future, I think when more the country there can move to work on the eDNA, it can be very useful and help those people a lot. Because I feel eDNA will be the trend, for most of ecologists will move on in the near future. What do you think about that? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Long time no see. About this, I think I also said if the phytoplankton, we study phytoplankton or for some detecting in the seawater, if we use the microscope, it need many of the well-trained systematic or taxonomists for in many institutes, but it also need many time to see one samples. But recently, for the molecular work development, we use maybe NGS, next generation sequencing. At least from I'm trying to test some samples from the Chinese coast. I have tried. I find it's maybe similar sometimes, but it also have many problems to solve. But from the composition of the species in the waters, we can nearly detect. But also another point is that the database, maybe you just now also referred, maybe sometimes because the phytoplankton, there isn't enough the database for be compared use bioinformatics. So this is also we need many, especially for the different place, maybe like in Thailand or in China, maybe the composition will be a little different, and maybe some of place there are many new and undetected species before. We find some some undetected from the species from the microscope, but we can find in some molecular work like NGS. Yeah. So, but I think for many years we're trying. I think this can be very useful and very fast detecting method for monitoring the harmful algal blooms. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, Penguin, what do you think that it is possible, for us to develop some kind of cooperation to work on this kind, or this kind of topic, because
I think absolutely. I think we can develop and even actually before I think I have talked to the Jalapon in PNBC. I talked to her. We can try to collect some molecular samples. We can try to analyze it because I haven't see some data from other countries. So far, I think I only have tried to try the China and the South Korean samples, and other WESTPAC country I haven't tried. But I think later we can try to compare the some samples. We can see if there are some different or some technical problem need to solve together. I think it's very important. It will because this molecular method will save many labor of us. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah. I think that if we have the, is that right? Some kind of regional cooperation will be helped to accelerate, the work, this work, in the region. Thank you very much, Penguin.
Thank you very much. Any other comment or question? So I have one question. I'm a physical oceanographer and interested in the transportation of the phytoplankton species from south to north. So do you have some, do you know some studies about the to clarify such kind of transportation mechanisms took place in the Western Pacific, and then causes some, blooms in the coast?
Yeah. So far, in my group, we have some results in the Chinese coast from the south to north. But this is why I want to know, because we only have the data in China, in Chinese coast. So I think maybe also when you have the recommend the ballast water and the transportations by the current, we thinking from the north. I think some of species maybe from far south can be transported from south to north. Yeah, I think I have seen some. I guess I collect how can I say? I collected some hearing from my colleagues of the HAPS in WESTPAC. Maybe, for example, I heard some Long Sandrick at Singapore University. He said maybe at 2017, one kind of the Hamburger bloom species was bloom at March in Singapore, but that species bloom at maybe at May or June at the Guangdong province and the Fujian province in China. So from this part of the message and information, I guess maybe there have maybe some seed from source to not. Of course, maybe some, yeah, maybe some, maybe not. But I thinking maybe this is some region maybe can transport from the current. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any other comment or question from the floor? So if not, thank you very much, Benbin. Very nice talk.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So final speaker is Shijiang. So Shijiang, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay. So could you please start your talk?
Yeah. Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Shijian Hu from the Institute of Ocean Knowledge of Chinese Academy of Sciences. It's a very great honor to attend the CSK-2 webinar. So my talk is try to answer a question. Is there a robust multi-decadal trend in the low latitude Pacific Western boundary currents? This is a latest research that done by my colleagues and I recently. Low latitude Pacific Western boundary currents is a very important focus of the CSK program. As described by the Western Park in the website, the CSK area extends from 160 degrees east longitude to the mainland of Asia and from 4 degrees south to 47 degrees north latitude. In this region, so the low latitude Western Pacific Ocean is the south domain of the CSK program. In this region, the NEC, that is the North Equatorial Current and South Equatorial Current converge together and feed the boundary currents, including the including the Kuroshio current, Mindanao current, Indonesia through flow, and the New Guinea coastal undercurrent, and then the eastward North Equatorial current. We know that ocean circulation plays a very important role in the redistribution of heat and water mass. For example, we know that during the past decades, the Earth has been warming up due to the greenhouse gas emission. This anthropogenic forcing leads to huge extra heating, which is about 5 times 10 to 14th order power water. And By contrast, the heat transport by the ocean circulation, as estimated by Forgate and Foreigner in 2019, is up to 10 to 14 power water as well. So the ocean circulation do play a very important role in the climate system. In response to the long-term climate warming, the ocean is found to have been changing for decades. For example, Yang and Rabio examined the global sea surface ocean wind speed using 31 satellite missions and 3 types of instruments. They found that they confirmed that the mean sea surface wind speed showed increase in trend during 1985 to 2018. And by the meantime, Hu et al. Investigated the global mean sea surface wind speed using RCP 8.5 simulations from 21 CMA5 models, and found that the global mean sea surface wind speed in the global warming in the future is significantly increased. You can see almost all the models show similar pattern, similar trend. So the intensified sea surface winds leads to acceleration of global mean ocean circulation. We recently published a paper. We examined the globally integrated oceanic kinetic energy that is named TKE. And we found that the TKE has been significantly increased since early 1990s. And the increased trend here reaches depths of thousands of meters to the deep ocean. The response of regional ocean circulation to climate warming differs from regions. For example, in the subtropical regions, Wu et al. In 2012 found that the poleward shift or intensification of global subtropical western boundary currents lead to accelerated warming in these regions. So you can see the very significant warming SST in these regions. However, it's not very clear about what the multi-decadal trend is in the low latitude Pacific western boundary currents. As we mentioned, if the global mean wind speed accelerated, it is expected that the multi-decadal trend is influenced by both natural variability, for example, Pacific decadal variability, and extra atherogenic forces. But this table lists some documented results in previous studies. There are numerous studies focused on this issue, but as we can see, these results differ from each other. This is because lacks of in situ observations leads to inconsistent conclusions. And so the observational evidence actually is the key to answer this question. So today I'm going to show some results based on the World Ocean Atlas 2018. We use the WA18 to investigate the decade-to-decade changes of the tropical Pacific western boundary currents. This dataset provides decadal mean fields of temperature and salinity, and covers the past 6 decades. The first decade with sufficient data for climatological mean fields is from 1955 to 1964. The dataset has a resolution of a 1/4 degree and 102 vertical layers. So it is suitable to calculate the geostrophic currents in the western boundary regions. The bottom panels you can see the area and the amount of samples. So almost all the 6 decades have sufficient samples in this region, and the area seems to be stable, and so it's we can see that samples in, can be used to calculate the geostrophic calculations. The area within the temperature and salinity are acceptable. But we should know that the samples in the first decades is a relative sparse, but this is good near the western boundaries, as you can see in the east of the Luzon Island, in the North Island. We then calculate the geostrophic currents across various sections, including 18 degree north, 8 degree north in the east of the Philippines, and 130 and 147 degree east. As we can see in the middle panel, these sections covers the major currents in this region, including Kuroshio in the North Current, and New Guinea coastal undercurrent, North NEC and ECC. Here we show that the multi-decadal mean structure of the geostrophic currents is consistent with previous studies. They have a relative strong current speed in the upper layer, and some subsurface undercurrents are also captured by the geostrophic calculations. For example, the Luzon undercurrent, Mindanao undercurrent in around 8 degree north, and the northeast undercurrent, north equatorial undercurrent here above the underline the NEC. Then the volume transport of these currents are calculated using the geostrophic currents. Here shows the transport of the NEC, MC, and Kuroshio. The mean transport of the NEC is about 51 sweat drop, and Mindanao current is 31 sweat drop, Kuroshio's 17 sweat drop. So the NEC is by and large in balance with MC and Kuroshio in this region. Clearly, the NEC, Kuroshio, and Mindanao current show an increasing trend during the six decades. But while the Mindanao current shows a very strong interdecadal variability. Note that the last decade is actually 13 years rather than 10 years. So the first 5 decades are actually of more confidence. That means the last value might be of less confidence here. As we mentioned that the estimates are influenced, the mean transport of the New Guinea coastal undercurrent is about -8 sweat drop, while the NECC is about 38 sweat drop. And both the NGCUC shows a very strong increasing trend during the 6 decades, but the NECC shows a decreased trend actually. As we mentioned, the estimates are influenced by the last decade because the last one is much longer than others. And also the estimates are influenced by the first decade because during which the samplings are sparse. So we calculate the linear trends of the transports during 3 periods. The first one is the whole period from 1955 to 2017. The second period is without the first decade, that is from 1965 to 2017. And the last period is from 1965 to 2004, that without the first and the last decade. So as you can see that only the Mindanao current, NEC, and NGCUC are always strengthened. So this is the increasing trend relative its mean. So MC and NEC and as well as NGCUC have been strengthened. But for the others, they are sensitive to the periods. For example, the Kuroshio, if we choose different periods, then the trends is different. This means the intensification of the 3 currents, MC, NEC, NGCUC, should be robust. We also checked the changes in dynamic height. This is a comparison between mean dynamic height and linear trend of dynamic height. This is the spatial pattern, and surrounding this panel is sections of the dynamic height. As we can see, basically the trend pattern in dynamic height is quite similar with the climatological pattern of dynamic height, which means the intensification of the mean pattern, that is intensification of the mean current along various sections. And this is consistent with the geostrophic calculations. The ocean circulation we talked about are basically wind-driven. So changes in wind forcing is expected to be a direct cause of the ocean current change. Previous studies have shown that the wind forcing in the Western Pacific Ocean plays a very important role in modulating the western boundary currents on interannual to decadal timescales. So here we compare the area mean zonal wind stress and the volume transport based on a very simple relationship model shown here. Alpha is a constant to show the transfer from wind and to current. As we can see, the NEC transport can be simply expressed as the zonal wind stress for multi-decadal timescale. We calculate the zonal wind stress in this region. Is highlighted by the black square. And you can see that the tau x, that it means the zonal wind stress and the NEC as transport, they can choose a very close relationship. It should be noted that the two time series are from totally independent data sources. The NEC transport is a geostrophic calculation from WOA-18, while the zonal wind stress is from the ORS-3, ECMW ORS-3. So they have an independent relationship. The very close relationship between the NEC transport and the zonal wind stress is very surprised and indicates that the strengthening of the NEC, as you can see, it's caused by the enhanced zonal wind in the Western Pacific Ocean at the same latitudes. We compared the volume transport and the Western Pacific zonal wind stress for other currents as well. So this slide shows the comparison between MC transport, Kuroshio, ACC, and NGCUC. And as we can see, for most of the ocean circulations, the zonal wind stress is a very good index that indicates changes in volume transport in the boundary currents. The multi-decadal variability and trend in the transport are associated with the zonal wind stress changes. That is, actually in this region is the trade wind change. So we further examine the evolution of a distribution of zonal wind stress anomaly. The left panel shows the climatological mean of the zonal wind stress. So basically in this region, the Western Pacific, tropical Western Pacific Ocean is dominated by trade winds. So generally negative here. And from 1959 to 2011, the zonal wind stress anomaly changed from positive anomalies here to significant negative anomalies. This indicates that the trade winds in this region have been significantly enhanced during the past 6 decades. And this is consistent with previous studies on a global perspective, and of course supports what we found in the low latitude western boundary currents. So to summary, back to the question, is there a robust multi-decadal trend in the low latitude of Pacific western boundary currents? I would say yes to the Pacific NEC, MC, and NGCUC. but we are not sure for NECC and the low latitude Kuroshio. As you can see, the Latitude trend is sensitive to the periods we choose, and we actually like enough observations in this region. But anyway, changes in this boundary currents are consistent with changes in the sea surface wind forcing of the Western Pacific Ocean. And it is interesting that the volume transport can be simply expressed by zonal wind stress. And as I mentioned, because the results is likely influenced by the data set we used, so uncertainties do exist. So for the next, we are going to search more solid evidences and to explore the role of global warming in the multi-decadal trend in Kuroshio and low latitude western boundary currents. As we know, the tropical Western Pacific Ocean is an important part of the domain of the CSK-2. And the CSK-2 and the UN decade actually have proposed some very important scientific gaps that are very closely related to the society and sustainable development. So from the perspective of a physical oceanographer, I think our contribution to CSK-2 might be focused on filling the scientific gaps, so we can to better understand the ocean and climate in this region, and hence we can benefit the society. I'm stop here to take some questions. Thank you very much for your attention.
Oh, sorry, my microphone was off.
Okay.
So thank you very much, Xijang. So comment or questions, please raise your hand first or write your question on chat window. First one is, so from the chat window, from the Sang Hyun Nam from Seoul National University. Hi, thank you for sharing great results. I think this kind of study will be increasingly of importance to address the origin of Kuroshio. So it will fit to the CSK-2. By the way, to verify, validate your results and or to reduce uncertainties, we may need to establish new or modify existing long-term ocean observation systems, particularly for the Western Tropical Pacific. Do you have any suggestion for this?
All right, thank you. I totally agree with Nam. Yeah, this is very good and very important suggestions. Yes, so as I said, due to very coarse observation in this region, actually we do not know much about the long-term trend of the western boundary currents, including Kuroshio. So during, I think the global warming will be continue during the past the following decades. So we have to consistently observe the long-term change of the currents in this region. In my institution, from the IOCAS, we have established a mooring array in this region, but it was started from 2014, and I think it will be continue, but it's not enough. So from the perspective of CSK-2, I think we need to do some cooperation works in this region to establish long-term, I mean, for example, decades to century observations in this region to observe the boundary currents. That is very important. Yeah, but yeah, I would like to listen some suggestions from Ping and the co-chairs of the CSK-2 on this question. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Xijang. I think the Japanese Meteorological Agency, JMA, has been maintaining the 137 East lines from the Japan to the tropical region. So the 137 East hydrographic line has been taking, I think, 2 times by years, and providing there more than, I think, 50 years long-term series. So such kind of activities will be necessary. So first of, maybe the first things we should do is to support JMA. And then we need to consider the new observation systems. So thank you very much, Xijang. So Wensi?
Thank you. Thank you,
Yeah,
Ki. Yes, I would like to say a few words to, sorry, can I say something too?
Yeah, okay, yes, please, Xijang first.
Yeah, I mean, the 137 section is very impressive. Actually, I did some, and also my colleagues did some research based on the observation from 137. So yeah, that is a very good way to continue start from the 137. Yeah, but I think maybe we can do something more, like to establish a moored observation, because that will be give some different informations of the currents and the ocean for us. Yeah, thank you. Just a few words.
Thank you, Xijang. Wensi, please.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you, Shijian. I think actually it's a kind of a comments is very related to the future development of the CSK-2. We always, I think everywhere for researcher, we always need a lot of observation, for long term to know more data, right? To publish more paper. But this is something maybe not ideal everywhere because funding is always competitive everywhere. So this is something I think what kind of strategy we should take for the on the development for the CSK-2. Take your study as a case. Okay, you review some current in the low latitude west boundary, have a robust multi-decade trend. And then for what? What's the impact? What's this kind of a robust multi-decade trend? Is it robust? What's the impact of that?
Right.
So this is something I just take it as an example. Our study, need to inform the different, even general public, policymakers, particular funding agencies to understand why we need to take this kind of research, right? So this is something particular for our, you review something, robust multi-decade trend in low latitude current. So for other people will ask, what's the impact of that?
Yeah.
What's the impact on the regional climate or some kind of related extreme weather events, possibly, potentially? Whether, this kind of study can give a more clear message or knowledge about this linkage between the research and also this kind of socioeconomic issues. I think that will be more convincing for our future observation and related research. Right.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Winch. Yeah, it's a very good comment. Yeah. I think what I talked about today is just from a very basic science and from the perspective of physical oceanography. Yeah, and I believe that the long-term change of the ocean currents, ocean circulations in this region will have important impact on our society from several perspectives. For example, the climate, the weather we live, and the ecosystem, and the fishing, and I think everything related to the climate and ocean will be influenced by the long-term change of the ocean currents. For example, as I mentioned in the background introduction, Wu et al. In 2012 found that the enhancement of the western boundary currents will lead to enhanced warming in the subtropical regions. They call it hotspots, and I think this is important enough to the common society, because if we think about the much stronger warming in our coastal ocean, it will influence the for example, the sea level rising, for example, the global climate change, for example, the typhoon and the rainfall and anything I think related to the climate and weather will be can be feel the change from the ocean. And also, I think I didn't introduce here. Some colleagues cited our results to investigate how does the long-term change of ocean circulation influence the fishing and especially I don't know the fish name, but I do know that they have an important influence on the fishing survive, I think. Yeah, but yeah, yes, I agree with you that they have a very big gap between basic science study and I mean the society, and so this is I want to listening from you to see how to contribute to CSK-2 in the nearing years. Thank you.
Thank you. Comment or question? Mr. San, please.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, this is Yutaka Mishida, the University of Tokyo from Japan. Thank you very much for your very interesting talk about the trend, long-term trend of the western boundary current, which is certainly our big, strong interest in terms of the physical oceanography and particularly the response of the ocean to the climate change. My question is a little more regional perspective, which may be somehow related to that made by the Wenxi. If we see the decadal trend in the western boundary current or the origin region of the Kuroshio, that kind of trend may cause some influence or impact also to the volume transport, including to the marginal seas, such as the South China Sea, or such kind of a phenomenon may have some impact or influence on the ecosystem in the marginal seas, including the South China Sea. So in this context, have you seen any or any trend or any data or any evidence in such the situation? I mean, the changes in the volume transport, including South China Sea from the western boundary current. This is my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Yeah. It's yeah. I think you mentioned a good question. Actually, related to Wenxi's comments. Right. Well, it's a good question, but I don't know. Yeah, because I just focus on how because for the first order or the zero order, I just want to know what the trend is and why does the ocean circulation have a trend. And I think for the next step, I might focus on the impact or the influence of the long-term trend on the for example, ecosystem or the downstream regions. Yeah, but I think some colleagues have been some related studies maybe answer your questions, but I don't know. Just sorry, because yeah, from my point of view, I think it's not solid enough to see the boundary currents are enhanced or not. So Yeah, but you asked a very good question.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's okay, no problem. And just kind of my suggestion is somehow related to the question from the Wenxi. That is my comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michida-san and Shijan. I have additional comment to the Michida-san and Wenxi. I think maybe just maybe for you, just looking at the tidal gauge data in the Philippine coast and or Indonesian coast, maybe you may see the long-term trend, maybe the increasing of the sea level, and then we can suggest that the one of the causes of the storm surge to the Philippine coast will be just one causes, but this kind of phenomena is impacted. Yeah, my comment.
Yeah, a very great suggestion, case. Yeah, it's very important for me. Yeah, tidal data also usually have a much longer than the temperature oscillating in the open ocean. Yeah, it's a good question and a good suggestion. I will try it and maybe cooperate with Caesar. Thank you.
Yeah. Please do so. Yeah. Any other comment or question? I have very scientific question. So you say that the Mindanao current transport has been strongly increasing in a decadal time scale, but you also mentioned that the North equatorial counter current did not show the strong trend.
Yeah.
So where the residuals, Mindanao current is going into the ITF and also North equatorial counter current. So you mean that the transport of ITF is increasing? Is my understanding correct?
Yeah, correct. Yes, I think you guess right. Yeah. Actually, I have also calculated the volume transport of the ITF. Use the same method, and found that yes, ITF has got to be increased during the same period. So, so the imbalance between the MC and the NECC might be goes to the ITF, I guess.
Okay. Thank you very much. And another question is that you show the westward, tau X has been increasing, right? It is due to the increase of the, enhancement of the trade wind.
Yeah.
But you only show the areas of trade wind in the western part of Pacific. How about the eastern part of Pacific? The trade wind is going from the, eastern part of Pacific to the western part of Pacific. So, I want to know the correlation.
Okay, so the reason I chose the Western Pacific Ocean is based on my previous studies. In 2016, I did some numerical simulations and to test the response of the Western boundary currents to different to wind stress forcing in different regions. And we found that the Western Pacific Ocean is the dominant region that controls the variability of the Mindanao current and Mindanao undercurrent. And also, a recent paper by Dong et al. In 2019, they also found that the Western Pacific Ocean controls the boundary currents rather than the Eastern Pacific Ocean. So this is why I chose the Western Pacific Ocean.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other comment or suggestions? If not, Shijan, thank you very much for your very good talk.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I think the all presentation for today's session has finished. So thank you for all for very nice talk. So 1 week later, we will have the final webinar session for CSK-2. So we will see each other next week, August 28th. So before closing,
sorry, Wenxi here. If you don't mind, can I, make suggestion again, on, to organize another discussion session?
Yeah, I will do. Yeah.
Yes, because I think we present, every speaker present their study and also ideas. We do need kind of a special session, brainstorm how to develop the CSK-2. I think this is very important.
Yeah. Yeah. After this webinars, I will first consult with the Xiaopei and Cesar, and we will do the another sessions. Yeah. Okay. So thank you for joining. So please show up your faces on the Zoom. So now we have 24 people.
Today, not many.
Yeah.
And can you help to open my video? Maybe it was forbidden by you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So please say hello. Please show smile face. So 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, one more. I will capture my screen. So second shot. Please show your smile. 3, 2, 1, 0. Thank you so much for joining. So see you next week. Bye.
Okay, have a nice weekend.
Yeah, have a nice weekend. Yeah.
Hi, Nishida.
Yeah.
I will see you for a long time.
Yeah, how's everything? Sounds good.
Good.
You can have private talk.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
Jamstack will provide Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
With some beer? No.
yeah. This is bad thing. We cannot have beer.
Okay. Have a good weekend.
Have a good
Have a nice
weekend.
weekend.
See you next year.
Right. See you next
Thank you
time.
very much.